And we are back. Welcome back, everybody, to this live stream. This time we are here for the qualifying session ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix, where once again the weather has taken a turn for the worst, as you can see, and it looks like it's going to be changeable between normal wet and extreme wet. But anyway, I am JW97, and once again I am joined by Kurisu.
Hi.
And, as we are getting set for qualifying, I might as well ask you, who do you believe will be eliminated in the first part of qualifying?
Both Aston Martins, both Williams, one Alfa Romeo and one McLaren.
Okay, I'm going to say both Aston Martins, both Williamses. I'm also going to say both Alfa Romeos. I think both McLarens can actually make it through into Q2. But it seems that everybody, from the looks of it, are all on the extreme wet tyres, judging from the grey sidewall there that we have on the side. So it should make for a very interesting session. Of course, whether or not it will dry up by the end of it, because of course we don't follow the weather forecast anymore. We follow what's actually going on the racetrack. We'll have to wait and see, of course. But yeah, but from the looks of it, it does look very changeable from the looks of it. So we could actually see some normal wet tyres during this 18-minute session.
But that was the first one out on track.
Yes, indeed. So far, I'm not seeing any predictions in the stream chat, so I don't need to have a look at that at the present moment. But Patel is out on the racetrack on the extreme wet tyres, and he's the first to go out there. Looks like 3 cars are out there at the moment. Make that 4 now, but so far it's so blurry I can't actually see who those drivers are. But for Patel, he'll be hoping he doesn't get any traffic at all. And of course, what Patel doesn't want to repeat of, because it is wet, he doesn't want to repeat of what happened at Portimao last week, if you may remember.
Well, yep, when he had that engine failure.
Well, the way he got the engine failure, really, because he was revving up the engine a bit too much when he was in a bit of a tricky spot. But I think the only place he could technically possibly do that is if he somehow got in between the bridge, in between where we are right now and that little slope over there, which I think is impossible to do. But yeah, he should be okay, but you never know, of course. Anyway, it's Patel now. They're making his way in towards the hairpin now. Then he goes.
We got a prediction. Ross says Williams, Aston, him, Renault, and both Alphas.
I think he's probably saying him because of what happened last time with that engine, but we'll have to wait and see on that. As now Patel making his way towards Spoon Curve now. Then I think all 22 cars are now out on track from the looks of things. So yes, they are. I had to look there on the stream because it was a little bit blurry for me.
Here.
To make sure, and all 22 cars are out on the racetrack, as now Patel will be preparing for his lap very, very soon in the Lamborghini, and of course he'll be setting the benchmark of time for everybody to beat, and Dog Commentator has decided to bark. Well done. As now we go towards the Casio chicane now, then through the right and left-hander we go, as now Patel goes around this final corner, as he will start his first flying lap of Suzuka, and given you're here, Kurisu, why don't you take us for a lap of the circuit?
Okay, here we go. It's not the longest of runs into the first corner. It should be flat in the dry, but in the wet it's a little bit more of a challenge. Go into 1 and then prepare for turn 2. You want to keep your line as straight as possible and get some good traction on this section. He's taking some curb for good measure. We go through the left into the S's and then through the right with a little bit of a blind apex at the next corner. Left once again. And it keeps getting tighter and not tighter. It keeps getting wider and wider, as now in towards the Degners we go. The first one is crucial. You need to pick up speed and carry it consistently up through the throttle. As now we go through the left at the first sector split. 36.6 for Patel as he goes through the double right hander of Degner and now underneath the bridge in towards the hairpin. Here we go for the right. You have to be very careful with your braking for this corner. It's so easy to go off, and you dip the wheel in the grass there, so that was quite close. But up the little hill we go through the flat out right hander in towards Spoon Corner, one of the most important corners for lap time on this circuit. So let's see what sort of speed he can achieve for this corner as he goes through the left, and he needs to get early on the power on the second apex. But he's had a little bit of an error there, so I think Patel's lap might be a little bit compromised. Anyway, we're going up for this straight section over the bridge at the second sector split in towards 130R. Not exactly flat in the wet, but he's still carried a lot of speed for it, and looks like he's battling a Mercedes, who has just pushed him off the track. As we're here at the Casio Triangle, the final chicane, Ka has taken the quote-unquote lead, and he will be a first car to set a lap. Here goes Armar Ka, who will obviously go first, but his lap has been impeded a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. I was wondering why on earth his line was a little bit odd through Spoon, but it turns out he was battling with Carr, really. So both of their laps have been compromised. Chung goes to the top as a result, but gets quickly beaten by Jesus Perinin, who goes to the top. Here comes Emilia Wilson in the Alfa Romeo now then, as she will now make her way onto the pit straight and across the line she will go, and she goes into, that looks to be, well, P6 now for the moment, as more lap times come about. Lopez goes into 4th position, Chatfield 5th, Galloway in 6th. Here comes Joseph Willows now then in the McLaren, as he will now come across the line himself, and he will go into 5th position at the moment, gets himself in front of Chatfield, does for him. It looks like De Rosa might have actually made a mistake, because that's a very, very woeful time there for De Rosa. Has he made a mistake somewhere on the racetrack, I wonder?
I think so. Looks like he was battling another car.
And it was because he was battling this Aston Martin, who also went wide, trying to take avoiding action with De Rosa's understeer. And I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, might have been Joantis Martins that was holding him up there. So not exactly ideal for the McLaren driver. But that's that. No, it was Verderi. In fact, it was the other Aston Martin there. Byrne only managing I think that says P10 or 11, I think that looks like there. Couldn't quite tell from the blurriness. As Gal goes into 7th place, David Cupark across the line, he will go, and he goes into 6th position. Jamie Griffiths now then looks like he's also at a moment in the Williams, Alan, an even bigger moment, I think, than what De Rosa has had.
Dear God,
and
he's lost a lot of time.
And I'm not sure if he had any traffic around him, but clearly he's had a bit of an error. And yeah, he made a huge error going around the Degner curves there as he was battling with Gal.
Yep.
And, well, it just looked like Griffiths just ran out of room there and then even went for a spin for good measure. So that's his first lap down the drain as a result.
Yep, that's right. And that's not good at all. And if the conditions get worse, this will be very bad for Griffiths.
Yeah, indeed, as Quag is shaking his head about all over the place, but he goes into 5th position regardless, though, as Sontag now then only goes into P16, I think that says. Martins goes, well, quite high up in 10th, as Roke goes into 7th position, but there the first run's done, and, well, I don't think we can draw any conclusions at the moment, because Pirin and going at the top, but there was quite a few mistakes and a lot of hold-ups on that lap, on the first flying lap.
Typical wet session.
Indeed so, and, as yeah, Yuri's just pointed out, I did notice that something was a little bit odd there when we were looking at De Rosa's first sector compared to everybody else. It seems that some of the colouring on that graphic might have broke a little bit, so it now looks a bit transparent. Does that graphic on the top left where we see who's got the fastest lap? So yeah, that's not good, but I don't think it will matter too much really in this qualifying. Well, it might, at least as long as we're able to see the numbers. I don't think it's going to be too much of a concern. But anyway, as now we look at Armar Car, and in fact, can we see the numbers? Because it looks a little bit. If I look on the screen, no, you can't really see the numbers there. So yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult to tell, really. If it's in a brighter area, we could be able to see it, but when it's in like a darker area, it's a little bit hard to read, really, if anybody's up or down on their personal best. So, Yeah, that's that really. But currently in the drop zone, we have Kloss, Sontag, Valdinger, De Rosa, Videri, and Griffiths, and we've burned just in the cusp of the top 16 threshold. And yeah, as mentioned, Kurisu, not really a lot we can gauge really on that first lap.
No, definitely not. And if the conditions get worse, this could be bad news for a lot of people.
You say that, but I'm noticing looking up at the sky, it is starting to get a little bit brighter. That's usually an indicator that the conditions could potentially be improving. And of course, we did see on the weather graph that it could change to normal wet tyres at some point during the session. So I'll have to wait and
Maybe.
see on that one. So as one of the Alpha Taurus comes back in, that is of course Miklos Gau. And so we have just under 11 minutes to go. Perrin currently at the top with Chung in second, and Armar Kar currently in third position. Wallo's currently in sixth for the moment, but over a second behind Aces Perrin. Perrin has got a 6/10 gap to second place Laura Chung at this stage as Gal gets wheeled back to the garage now, then in the Alpha Tauri. As now, that's that really, as Gal gets wheeled back in. As taking their time, it seems, a little bit there to get the car pretty much sorted out. As the Williams is also about to get wheeled back into the garage pretty soon as well. Of course, the only team at the moment to be on single-digit figures in the Constructors' Championship. All the other 10 teams are on double figures at the moment, or in the case of most of the teams, triple figures, that being the top 7 in the Constructors' Championship. Somebody is going out on track. I did just see that. Somebody has just gone out onto the track. And
Anyway, our
who...
screen share looks a little bit better. And since we are in Japan, I just wanted to say Happy Piccolo Day because in Japan, on every 9th of May, they celebrate Piccolo Day.
Interesting stuff, as Armar Kar now is the first one onto the track, so he's not wasting any time, and he's trying to make sure this time he doesn't get any traffic, because of course he and Patel were holding each other up on the first flying lap.
Yep.
Does look like as well, it might just be me, but it looks like it might have stopped raining in fact, so that could allude to the fact that there are dry conditions, although the rain is still about here, still prevalent at that part of the track, so quite interesting indeed what the weather is sort of playing up around here. But of course I did notice that there is a bright sky up in the air at the moment, which could indicate maybe some improving conditions quite soon in this session as Carr makes his way around the double right-hander on the racetrack.
Yeah.
There's a few more cars make their way out on the racetrack. Chung is on track, Perrin on track, Lopez on track, Galloway on track, Wilson, Mocho and Byrne are also out there on the track as well. Quagga's just joined the track. Byrne will be hoping he doesn't get involved in any traffic because he's only in P16 at the moment. Is the man who won last time out at Portimao. As Carr now then around the long right-hander he will go as he now makes his way towards Spoon Curve now then. And so now approaching the first part of Spoon now then we go. So through the first
You
part.
went off the track, Jamie.
As now through into the second part now then we will go as he now makes his way down the back straight now then we go. As looks like the rain is still there at the moment in the Mercedes, as now Carr making his way towards 130R. As he'll begin to start his lap. He'll be hoping there's no traffic, as there are still a few cars in the pit lane, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. But
Do you
now,
want to take us through the lap?
Yep, I'm about to. As now coming around the Casio chicane we go, as Carr will now start a second flying lap, and he'll be having this time it's a clean one as there's still 2 cars in the pit lane. Of course, one will get left behind as per usual, and just about able to get in front of that Williams that was just coming out on track. So it is Martins that's the one that's getting left behind on this occasion. Through into turn 2, there goes Armar Kar using quite a bit of curb, a lot of curb in fact on the outside, now making their way into the tricky S's now then we go. It's very easy, especially on that part of the S's, to understeer off. We have seen it a few times in the OC. I remember Daniel Fraser having quite a big crash at that corner in a practice session. So I can't remember if it was 2021 or 2020 that he had that crash. So anyway, now up the hill we go now then as Carr now makes his way towards the end of the first sector. Let's see what it's like compared to Hazes Perrinan, and he's 3 tenths down, but he's 1/10 up on his personal best, and he should be able to gain some more for the remainder of the lap because it was in the second and third sector where he and Patel were holding each other up massively now then as Carr making his way up towards the hairpin now then we will go. And in fact, even without that hold-up, Carr is still in third position at the moment in the Mercedes. So clearly a lot more lap time to find at the moment as C now makes his way around the long, swooping right-hander we go.
I guess you could say that for everybody, though.
Yeah, perhaps, as now Carr making his way into Spoon Curve now then, through the first part and then into the second part, we will go on the racetrack as now he will make his way down the back straight, which will take you over towards the crossover point of the racetrack, of course. Of course, this is a figure of 8 circuit, the first of 2 this season, because of course Balcarce, which is the penultimate race, is also a figure of 8 circuit, as 1/10 up on his personal best, nearly 2/10 for Armar Carr this time by. Into the Casio chicane, then we go, quite a tricky corner to get right. Obviously, it's different to what it was in the early 2000s, but it still provides that same challenge nonetheless. A heavy braking zone on the racetrack. Through the right-hander we go. Now down the pit straight we go, and Armar Carr across the line. He will go. Can he improve? He can, and he goes up into second place. Gets himself in front of Laura Chung. As we now look at Amelia Wilson, who's also up on her personal best. Wilson currently in 14th position at the moment, so currently in the top 16 threshold. As now Wilson across the line, she will go. And she goes up to 9th. A big improvement there for the American driver. Laura Chung crosses the line. She doesn't improve and stays in third. Lopez to the top by 1.2 seconds. Clearly some slipstream there from Chung there, and well, Lopez with a 146.323.
I have to mute myself for a little.
Okay, as Lopez at the top of the timing sheets with a massive gap there. Here comes Jake Galloway in the Ferrari. Across the line, he improves to go into 11th. Perrin doesn't improve. Macho doesn't improve. Byrne across the line goes up into second place, but still over a second behind his rival Franco Lopez. Roman Quagga across the line, and he improves to go into 6th position. Here comes Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini now then, and he goes into 15th position himself. Joseph Willows across the line, he will go in the Lamborghini, in the McLaren, sorry. No improvement for him. Stays where he is with GP7. De Rosa improves, but still in the drop zone in 18th. Griffiths improves to 17th, but he's still in the drop zone. Gal, no improvement for him. He stays 14th position for the moment, as we now look at Andre Videri into the Casio chicane now. Then we go, as he now rounds the long swooping right-hander now. Then we go, as now Videri onto the pit straight. And across the line now, then he will go as the Aston Martin makes his way across the line, goes 19th. He's still in the drop zone. Is the Aston Martin driver. Valdinger improves, but still in the drop zone in 20th. Kloss doesn't improve, and he's still in the drop zone. Is Kloss. Kupak improves to 9th. Roke to 6th. Chatfield to 4th. And we now look at Sontag, who's down on his personal best. But it seems that everybody is gaining time into that last sector. I wonder if the conditions are improving, perhaps, in Sector 3, perhaps, as now, unless it might be down to the traffic, of course. Let's not forget that we saw on that first flying lap as Sontag now then around the right-hander he goes, making his way onto the pit straight and across the line. He will go. And he doesn't improve and stays in last, though over 5 seconds behind Lopez. But they are the second runs done with, and quite a few changes at the moment. But Kloss is still in the drop zone at the moment in the Haas, and well, could we potentially see a Haas getting eliminated in the first part of qualifying, I wonder? As of course Kurisu is still absolutely. We've got a yellow flag, in fact, and we've got a yellow flag at the where is that? Is that the Casio chicane? In fact, it's no, it's coming up at the double right-hander, and it's Valdinger who's gone for a spin at that part of the track. And was it contact with Kloss? No, it was him taking avoiding action from Kloss, and well, he's gone for a spin as a direct result of that, really. And Valdinger really not doing a good job taking avoiding action there on the Haas driver, who's clearly still frustrated that he's still in the drop zone at this stage. But yeah, Macho's just in the cusp of the top 16 himself, so he's tivering on the edge at the moment, as his teammate Kloss is currently in that drop zone at the moment. So very interesting stuff indeed, as Macho, speaking of which, has just made his way back into the pits. He is currently in the top 16 threshold, but only just at the moment by 2 tenths ahead of Jamie Griffiths, as Macho now then will get wheeled back into the garage now then in this session, as he will now look to see if there is enough time for him to go back out for a third and final flying lap. I do wonder if that can be the same for everybody else as well, looking at the amount of time we've got left on the clock, as the Williams now making his way back in the pit save with the Alpha Tauri, although there's a collision there between Griffiths and Mikolas Gau as they make their way into pit lane at that point in time. So yeah, that's not really ideal for the pair of them at that stage, and Gal decided to take a trip through the safety car that's at the end of the pit lane, but he should eventually come to a stop, should he, as he's still trundling at the moment, is Mikolas Gal, and hopefully he's not going to get himself in too much trouble, as he now pulls off. I think that's a marshal there that's come to collect him in the garage there, as he needs to come to a stop, otherwise he's going to be blocking the pit exit here, as Gal is still moving at the moment. And is he going to stop? He does stop eventually. But yeah, not ideal. I wonder if he's actually holding anybody up coming out of the pits. And in fact, he did. But luckily, that Aston Martin just went around. And that is Joantis Martin, who's currently in 13th. So he's so far safe at the moment. But I do wonder if anybody in the drop zone is going to make it their way through out on the racetrack and give themselves a chance to get through into the second part of qualifying, I should say. Looks like the clouds are starting to draw in again around here at Suzuka. So it seems that although it is still kind of bright in some areas. So interesting there. As Wilson has also, or she just still yet to come back into the pits. No, she's out on track. There are a few cars out on track at the moment. Martins, Wilson, and even Carr, but nobody from the drop zone has gone out on track just yet. As now they make their way through into the left-hander now then on the racetrack. As now they make their way towards the double right-hander. As Kurisu seems to be back, as I just heard a microphone there.
Hi.
Yep, as still waiting to see if anybody in the drop zone is going to come out on track. 50, 49, 48, 47, 46.
No, that's it.
45, and De Rosa might have given himself a little bit tight with De Rosa. I'll have to wait and see, but for everybody else, that's that. So for Bartosz Klos, he's been eliminated in the first part of qualifying.
Big shocker.
Big shocker indeed, and Macho, if De Rosa has found himself enough time, if he's just got out just in the nick of time and he's able to put a lap in before the checkered flag comes out, there could be a chance that both Hasses could get eliminated in the first part of qualifying, and it would mean that the big comeback job will be needed for Haas in the race tomorrow. But yeah, Klos is out in Q1. He's not going to be a happy man about that one, that is for sure. But again, I do wonder if De Rosa has done enough to give himself one more flying lap to potentially give himself a chance to get through into the second part of qualifying. We'll have to wait and see.
I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, it should be close indeed as Martins makes his way through into the Casio chicane now then on the racetrack. He'll be hoping there's no traffic by the time he gets back round. Of course, there will be drivers that will be trying to do some mileage before the session comes to a close as Martins now then making his way onto the pit straight, and Martin starts his lap around about now then, just looking on the right hand side. Looks like there's no traffic for him on this occasion, so he should be able to get a clean lap in this time by as he now makes his way into the second corner on the racetrack. And so quite a lot of curb being used there on the outside for the Aston Martin, as now through the left, through the right, and then into the left and right he will go now then pretty soon, although it looks like Martins is tippy-toeing his way around these parts of the track. And I wonder if we could be looking, because considering that there's not really much rain on the track, I wonder if we could be potentially seeing interconditions for Q2. That could be something
could be
something to
but
bear
we
in
need
mind.
To see if De Rosa is going to make it.
Have to see, of course. There's 6, 5, and now we have 4, 3, and now 2, 1, and now 0, and the checkered flag is out. That is the end of the session. Martins is down on his personal best in the first sector, meanwhile, so it looks like he's not on an improvement at the moment as he now makes his way into
Why aren't we looking at De Rosa?
We'll check back at De Rosa a little bit later on, of course, so we're not in any rush, of course. We'll obviously find out a little bit later if he's on a lap or not, but anyway, as Martin's now then making his way around the long swooping right-hander now then on the racetrack, as now making his way towards the spoon curve. Now then we go through spoon 1 and then into spoon 2 will go Martins, as he will soon approach the end of the second sector very, very soon on the racetrack. Now then down the hill he goes onto the back straight, and now heading into the 130R we will go now then. Let's see what his second sector has in store, and he finds himself way off in the middle sector, way off in fact, over a second off his personal best, so looking at no improvement. But I don't think Martin should worry anyway, because he is through into Q2 anyway, because he is up in 13th position, although in fact Videri, where is he? He's in the drop zone and he didn't come out on track in time, so Videri is out, so Martins will be the only Aston Martin through into Q2, as now Martins crosses the line now then. In the Aston Martin, no improvement, he stays where he is. Carr is up on his personal best meanwhile. Can he potentially try and get to the top? I don't think he will, as he now crosses the line and he goes into 3rd position in the end. Amelia Wilson crosses the line, no improvement. She stays in, I think that's 10th position, that says.
Lopez is improving.
Yep, but he's getting some slipstream from the Williams here, and he doesn't improve as a result. So it looked like Griffiths was holding him up. Galloway goes into 8th position. I think that says Quag also up on his personal best, and he goes into what is 5th position in the end. And De Rosa didn't make it in time. So Macho just, thankfully for him, he just avoided being eliminated there. So De Rosa just missed out on doing another lap, and he has been eliminated in qualifying as a result of that. But that is Q1 done with as a result, with Lopez, Byrne and Carr your top 3 and your bottom 6. As a reminder, of course, as we scroll down, if the scroll lets him, of course, and there we go, eventually, it is Griffiths, Kloss, Videri, Valdinger, De Rosa and Sontag who have been eliminated. So, just going to take a brief pause while Shuri gets prepared for Q2, but in the meantime, you can let us know your prediction on who you believe will be eliminated in the second part of qualifying, but in the meantime, I'm going to mute myself and get the tweet prepared for Twitter, so apologies if I go silent for a little bit.
I'll go with my prediction. I'm going to predict Macho, Wilson, Martins, both AlphaTauri, and one Lamborghini. That is my prediction. Oh, and one McLaren, not one Lamborghini, sorry.
I am back, and
Okay.
so the tweet is now up on Twitter, and yeah, obviously Bartosz Kloss, a big shocker there in Q1, getting eliminated in the first part of qualifying. Macho was very lucky; he also didn't get eliminated. Otherwise, that could have been a double disaster, really, for Haas if that were the case.
Yeah.
Very much indeed, and we'll have to wait and see, of course, if Macho could try and improve on that and try and see if he can get his Haas through into Q3 or not, like he did at Portimao last time out. But we'll have to wait and see what the conditions are going to be like, whether they'll get worse or they'll gradually improve. I'll have to wait and see. Of course, there was barely any rain towards the end of Q1, so you do wonder if there might be a compound change in between Q1 and Q2. So it's going to be quite interesting indeed. Of course, a reminder as well, whilst we're in this little interval at the moment, of course, we will have the Formula E race, of course, Formula E meeting, I should say, not just a race, also the qualifying and the race taking place straight after this as well. Of course, it will be a separate stream, so do be aware of that. So once this goes offline,
Looks like the rain has gotten worse.
We'll be preparing for the next one. But as Kurisu just said there, the rain will get worse, and it looks like we are sticking on to the monsoon tyres for the second part of qualifying. You've already gave your predictions, Kurisu, so I might as well give mine out. I will say Macho will get eliminated. I think he won't do enough to get through, I'm afraid. I think Willows will get eliminated, even though he had a good Q1 outing. I think in the end it will catch up to him eventually. Martins, I think, will be eliminated as well. So will Wilson, as will I think maybe a Ferrari. I'm going to go a little bit ballsy there and say a Ferrari will get eliminated. And I'm also going to say, I think I'll also say a AlphaTauri as well. That is my prediction. So that's that. So anyway, as we now get set for Q number 2 to get underway, the conditions have gotten worse in between there, although the bright skies are still there, surprisingly, as Q-Pop makes his way out on track, as we read some predictions in the stream chat, and it looks like there's only one at the moment from what I can see, unless I'm missing one. But anyway, Michael has said Macho, Willows, both AlphaTauris, a Ferrari, and an and Martins, he said. Although for some reason, I think I'm going to presume he's typing that on a phone. It's hyphen. It's put an apostrophe in between the N and the S for some bizarre reason.
Michael, Clark or Mocho?
Mocho.
Okay.
So that's that really, as they now make their way through into the left-hander now then on the racetrack. As now Q-Pot now then making his way towards the double right-hander of the Degners, of course, as the cars making their way out on track. I would imagine that Q-Pot's not going to get any traffic by the time he starts his lap, but you never know, of course. Things can happen as Q-Pot making his way into the hairpin, so I would imagine maybe we're looking at potentially slower times in this session, or if you get good enough slipstream, then perhaps it might get some equal lap times from what we saw at Q1, but we'll have to wait and see on that, as the German David Q-Pot making his way
slipstream in the wet is not really a thing, to be honest.
Well, Lopez was able to prove it in the last session, really, but I guess it was because the conditions got a little bit lighter as the session went on. But whether or not it will be the case here, we'll have to wait and see. I think all 16 cars are now out on track, so Q-Pot will not get any traffic when he starts his first flying lap of Q2 now then, as he now makes his way towards towards 130R and now approaching the Casio chicane. He goes through the right and left-hander now then. We will go on the racetrack. As Q-Pot now then round the right-hander he goes, as he now starts his first flying lap of Q2 now then. As Q-Pot now then making his way onto the straight, as he now starts his first flying lap of Q2 with just over 12.5 minutes to go. So the German driver now making his way in towards the first couple of corners on the track now then. Obviously very easy, as we saw in practice, even in the dry, to make a mistake at that part of the track. Is now in towards the S as we go through it into the left and right-hander. We will go on the racetrack, and then through the next left and right we will also go. So through the left and then into the right and left we will go in this section of S's now then here at Suzuka, as Q-Pot will soon be approaching the end of the first sector very, very soon on the racetrack now then. So through the long swooping left-hander now then goes David Q-Pot as he approaches the end of the first sector, and he does a 35.967. I think that says, as he now makes his way into the second part of the Degner curve. There are some more lap times, but due to the blurriness, I think it is a little bit hard to tell at the moment. So I guess we're not going to be able to do too many comparisons in this session. As now through into the hairpin now then we go. As it looks like Q-Pot may have had a, I don't know if that was just me there, but it looked like he kind of bounced a little bit in the middle of the hairpin there, so that might have cost him a little bit of time. So I don't know if that may have been a mistake there from David Q-Pot, as now he makes his way towards the double left-hander of Spoon now then. So through the first part and then into the second part of the of Spoon now then he will go. As now he makes his way down the back straight now then we will go on the racetrack, as now he approaches the end of the second sector very, very soon now then, approaching the end of sector 2 now then we will go. And he does in the end of the second sector. For some reason my stream is just closed there for some odd reason. I don't know why, as I'm just having to look on the stream now for the moment. Okay, Yuri having some problems there, so I'll look on the stream for the moment, so it might sound a little bit out of sync for the moment. But Q-Pot now then just coming around the Casio chicane now then on the racetrack, as the stream comes back just in the nick of time. So anyways, he now makes his way onto the straight now then does David Q-Pot, as he will now come across the line now then, and the benchmark time is going to be a 1:47.752. Michael Mocho across the line he will go, and he goes into second place for the moment, as now Joseph Willows comes down the pit straight in the McLaren, as he's now going to make his way across the line now then. And what is the time going to be? And it's P3 for him, 1.6 seconds off. Rote goes into second place, only 6 tenths off of Q-Pot. Quad goes into 4th, 7 tenths off in the end. Here comes Amelia Wilson in the Alfa Romeo, as now she will now come across the line herself, and she goes into 6th position. Miklos Gal across the line he will go in the Alfa Tauri now then. His teammate currently at the top, but Gal nowhere near, 1.8 seconds off. Perinen goes into second place, just under a tenth behind Q-Pot in the end. Galloway across the line goes into 6th position, 1.1 seconds off. Here comes his teammate Chris Chatfield, who rounds the Casio chicane. Now then, coming out of Casio we go, as he now rounds the right-hander, as Chatfield now then onto the pit straight, and across the line now then he will go. And Chatfield across the line he goes. Where is he going to place himself? He goes to the top by 5 tenths of a second. What about Laura Chung in the Lamborghini now then, as Apart from Rote, none of the other top guys have done a lap time just yet, as Chung crosses the line and goes into 7th place, as I say. Evan Byrne, with his special helmet, crosses the line, and he goes only P3 there. So like Rote can't even get close to Q-Puck at the moment. Carr, only 8th there. Lopez goes into 2nd place for the moment. Here comes Rahul Patel in the Lamborghini, as he will now cross the line, and he goes into what is 13th position. Here comes Johannes Martins now then, as he will now come across the line now then in the Aston Martin, and he goes into 16th position, 4 seconds off the pace in the end there then. I wonder if he might have actually made a mistake, in fact, because he's way off the pace compared to everybody else, and it looks like, did he make a mistake early on in the lap, or was it just a poor lap really for Johannes Martins? We're trying to have a look around on the lap, and can't really see anything out of the ordinary on this lap, so makes you wonder if it was just a poor lap really for Johannes Martins.
Could be. Yeah, I just think it was a bad lap.
Yeah, so way off the pace there is Johannes Martins, but we have Chris Chatfield currently at the top after the first runs in Q2, but I think like we talked about in Q1 earlier on, Kurisu, I don't think we can draw too much conclusion on the first laps.
No, it's still early in the session.
Yeah, indeed, and you would imagine as well the weather conditions might have also played a part in that one as well. But currently in the drop zone, we have Galloway, Willows, Patel, Gal, Wilson, and Martins at this stage, as now Q-Pop making his way into the garage now then, as he pulls to the right and left at the moment, as only P9 for Carr at the moment, only P5 for Roke, P4 for Byrne, and P2 for Lopez. So Chatfield clearly finding his groove in the wet conditions, but whether he can keep that up or not, we'll have to wait and see, of course, as the session progresses. As Q-Pot now again gets wheeled back into his garage now then. Just under 8 minutes to go in this session now then, as he will be soon making his way out of the pits. Well, he'll be coming out the pits soon for his second flying lap, but I'd imagine that people will beat him to the punch a little bit later on. His teammate Mikko Oskar has just made his way on track. I don't know if that was Yuri or Kurisu there that just spoke there. Yuri, I couldn't quite catch what he said there, but
he was
anyway.
Sneezing.
Oh, okay, sorry. As now Gal now then gets wheeled back into the garage now then, as it seems so far they've still got Patel and Martins out there at the moment, but for just looking around at this stage of qualifying at the moment, it's looking pretty interesting after the first laps, but as mentioned a little bit earlier on, you should expect the second laps to be a little bit better. Perhaps, of course, we'll have to wait and see if Martins can find the time needed to get a little bit closer to the rest of the order, being down in 16th place at the moment in this qualifying session. Of course, for anybody who missed the team news, of course, Martins will be moving to Renault next season alongside Roman Quag. Perinen, of course, will be leaving the team at the end of the season. Whether that's with Mercedes, Toyota, or elsewhere, we'll have to wait and see, but they are the two, of course, he's currently linked with, and of course Felix Sontag, of course, as a result, because he was also fighting for that Renault seat, along with Florian Volker as well, will be staying at Williams for next season, although it is more likely he'll have a new teammate next season, because, increasingly highly likely that he will have a new teammate, because Griffiths has made it clear in his choices that he wants to leave Williams at the end of the season. So Mocho now then out on the racetrack. He will go now then, as he's currently in 7th position so far in the Haas, as he with just under 7 minutes to go in this session, but so far, unless the lap times start to tumble, it's a little bit better from what we saw from him in Q1, Kurisu.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, of course, if he can perhaps improve a little bit more in this session. 1.2 seconds off of Chris Chatfield at the moment is Michael Mocho, as he now makes his way through the left-hander now then on the racetrack. And now approaching the double right, we'll go Michael Mocho in the Haas now then, as he makes his way towards the first part and then into the second part now then. He will go, as we've just over 6 minutes to go in this session. I do wonder if for most of these, this could be their final flying lap, depending on how quick it takes them to get back around the racetrack or not, but we'll have to wait and see on that, as Mocho just comes around the hairpin now then, as still some cars in the pit lane. Lopez, Byrne, Carr, Chung, Willows, Patel, and Martins, of course. So that's that really, as Mocho now making his way towards the Spoon curve now then, the double left-hander of Spoon, as currently 1.3 seconds off the pace at the moment, well, nearly 1.3 seconds for Mocho. 4 cars still in the garage at the moment. Will he be out in time before Mocho starts his next lap as the rain continues to fall down here at the Suzuka International Racing Course here in the Mie Prefecture? I've probably butchered that again. As
I got pretty much good.
Okay, as now coming around the Casio chicane now, then we go. As now coming around the right-hander now, then we go. As Mocho starts his lap, Carr and Martins are still in pit lane. Well, Carr's just come out. Is Martins trundling down pit lane? I wonder. He is, but he's not going to interfere with Mocho, so Mocho should have a clean run heading into throughout this lap as he makes his way through the first 2 corners on the racetrack now. Then, as he uses quite a lot of curb on the outside, making his way into the S's, through the left, and then into the right, and then into the left and right will go the Portuguese driver now then, as he now makes his way through the left and right, and in at the Haas now then, as he will now approach the left-hander now then. Up the hill he goes, heading around this long, swooping left-hander he goes, as now making his way towards the end of Sector 1, and he's way off his personal best by nearly a second in
My
that
goodness.
first sector, so he's not on a very good lap at the moment. Is the Haas driver, as he just came out of the Degners there, and now heading up the hill towards the hairpin now there on the racetrack. Of course, we saw a couple of infamous dive bombs there by Kamui Kobayashi and Sergio Perez in the past at that corner. It's quite a place where you could go for a dive bomb. I'm not really sure with the modern day cars, but the possibility is there. As now Mocho making his way towards the double left-hander now then of Spoon. We're just under 4 minutes to go in this qualifying session now then. Well, in Q2, I should say, this part of qualifying really, as now Mocho makes his way down the back straight before approaching 130R. What's his second sector going to look like? I'm not expecting him to be up, and no, still way off by 1.3 seconds there. So, yeah, no
1.5.
0.5, sorry, I read that wrong. As Mocho now then comes around Casio chicane, as the Aston Martin of Martins, of course, will be starting a lap pretty soon right behind him. So Mocho, round the right-hander he goes, onto the pit straight, and across the line he will go, and he's probably not going to improve, and no, he needed to find a miracle, and it didn't come. He stays in 7th as Martin starts the lap. Perinen up on his personal best. He's currently in P5. Across the line he goes, and he goes into P3. A pretty good effort there for him. Q-Pop holding up a couple of cars coming out of Casio there, and he's not up on his personal best, is Q-Pop, but he is currently 4th place, is the German driver, and he stays 4th for the moment. Wilson doesn't improve, nor does Roke, and he's currently in 6th place at the moment, is the Red Bull driver, as Gal goes up into 3rd place. A pretty big improvement there as he pushes Chung into the drop zone, and Carr is just in the cusp of the top 10 at the moment is the Mercedes driver. Here comes Chris Chatfield, who's just coming around the right-hander. He's currently at the top of the timing screens at the moment, is the Ferrari driver, as he will now come across the line, but he does not improve on that occasion. Galloway, his teammate, is up, and he's currently in the drop zone. Could he potentially push Carr down there at the moment, as he's currently on the lap at the moment, is the Mercedes driver. Galloway, across the line he goes, and he does improve into 10th. So Carr currently in the drop zone. Quag, no improvement. He stays in P9. Willows improves to go to 10th, so pushes Galloway back into the drop zone. Lopez up on his personal best. Can he perhaps go to the top of the timing screens and snatch the fastest time off of Chris Chatfield now then? The championship leader comes across the line. Franco Lopez across the line, and he does by 1/10 of a second. Patel across the line, and no improvement for him. He's still in the drop zone. He's way off. Chung across the line. She will go. She doesn't improve. So both Lamborghinis still in the drop zone. It looks like they're going to be out, judging for the amount of time. So yeah, both Chung and Patel are out. Bernie's up on his personal best, meanwhile, in 6th position. I've not seen Carr yet come across the line. He's actually behind Byrne at the moment, so we'll have to see if he can make it through into Q3 or not. But Byrne now then comes across the line in the Red Bull as the Irishman makes his way across the line, and he goes into 3rd position. Carr across the line, he needs to improve, and he goes to the top. That's exactly how he does it. Pushes Willows into the drop zone, and Carr goes to the top of the timing screens with a 1:46.831.
Martin still has a chance to save himself.
Let's see, across the line he will go in the Aston Martin, and he goes 14th, but he goes a little bit higher. He is out, but he gets himself in between the 2 Lamborghinis, and that is Q2 done with, and both Lamborghinis have been eliminated in the second part of qualifying. So from the highs of Portugal with Loa Chong to the lows here at Suzuka, it's P13 for Chong and P15 for Patel. Both of them have got some work to do in the race tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
And with it, of course, with the chance of trying to get 4th in the Constructors' Championship, that is definitely not going to help. And Red Bull do have a special livery. You are correct there, Fire Splash. They do have a special livery for this race to commemorate the fact that this is Honda's home race. They've got a green, blue, and white livery for this race, and Evan Byrne has also carried a special helmet for this race as well to commemorate Honda's home race. So that's that really. But that's the top 10. Mocho does make it through into Q3, so he was able to step it up in the end, unlike what we saw in Q1 earlier on, where he just was able to get through into Q2 by the skin of his teeth there, and we nearly saw both Hasses getting eliminated, but Kloss in the end was the only one to be eliminated for that, and of course I will do when we get to Q3, of course.
Okay.
But, yep, as everybody now making their way back into the pits to end Q2 here at Suzuka, and that's that then. So yeah. Oh, Evan just gave some heads up about that livery, really, about Red Bull, and the
What is
inspiration. The inspiration comes from the 2008 Honda, really. Their blue, green, and white car, really. So that's where the colours kind of comes from, really. It's kind of a nod to the final Honda F1 team car that we had in the top class and even in real life as well. We've not seen a Honda Works team ever since, unless you want to count Red Bull as the Honda Works team from next season, I guess, but they never really considered themselves that. But anyway, Carl Lopez and Chatfield are your top 3. Your bottom 6, Joseph Willows, Jake Galloway, Laura Chung, Joantis Martins, Rahul Patel, and Amelia Wilson. So we're just going to take a brief pause whilst we get Q3 prepared, but in the meantime, guys, let us know your prediction on who you believe will take pole position for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix. But in the meantime, I'm just going to mute myself and get the tweet prepared for Twitter, so apologies if I go silent for the moment.
To keep you guys entertained, I'm going to give you my prediction, which is Byrne for pole. So let me know yours. And we will read your predictions later, of course. But yeah. Alright. Guess we're back.
Just in time. I just about got it perfectly timed there. But we're about to get on the way, and it looks like we're going to have normal wet weather conditions for the third part of qualifying. So we should expect some faster lap times, in theory. But, of course, let's not forget there is a soft and harder compound of the normal wet. So that's obviously something to bear in mind in case there are any big gaps across the field. So, you've obviously gave your predictions for pole position, Christina. I'm going to give mine.
Yep.
Mine is going to be, I'm going to say Franco Lopez for pole position. I'm going to go for a Mercedes on this occasion. And yep, as you can see, we are on the normal wet tyres for this. So, but whether any of them are on the soft or the hard tyre, soft or hard compound of the normal wets, we'll have to wait and see on that one.
I wish we could do something hard for dry tires as well to get some variety in races. It would be much more fun.
Yeah, but I think it's quite impossible to do. I think, but
I'm afraid so.
yeah, it's only really the wet tires where you see a notable difference between the soft and the wet. The dry, you don't really notice it really. So yeah, that's that really. As now, Upok is the first one to go out onto the racetrack. As I look in the stream chat for your guys' predictions, Franco Gamba has said Armar Carr for pole position. Ra has said George Rote for pole. Dennis has said Lopez for pole. Michael Mocho says he believes a Ferrari will take pole position, but he hasn't specified.
Which one?
Well, he hasn't said. Well, it would have to be Chatfield because Galloway's been eliminated, so it will have to be Chatfield. Lopez for pole has said Chris Chatfield, and George has just said evening, folks. Anyway, as that's that really. As Cupot now then just coming around the left under. I thought for a minute George had actually put something, but then I realised he just said evening, folks. So that's that.
Could
really.
have been in.
It could have been. It could be evening, folks. As now as. Cupok now then making his way through the Degners now then on the racetrack as we have just under 14 minutes to go in this session, and as now Cupok making his way through into the left-hander to prepare his lap. All 10 cars should be out on track by the time he starts his lap, so Cupok shouldn't have any issues with traffic. I think he was actually the first to go out in Q2 if I'm not mistaken as well, and didn't have traffic there and actually set a pretty good time if I'm not mistaken. So I wonder if he can replicate that. Of course, let's not forget Cupok's best moment when it comes to changeable conditions in qualifying had to be from his first race in 2019 where he was able to grab third place on the grid before Gal decided to, his current teammate Nicolas Gal decided to ruin things for him at a little bit later on in the race, which left people a little bit disappointed if I remember, and it ended up being quite a tricky season for Dave. Yes, indeed, at the Malaysian Grand Prix in 2020, of course. Yeah, because everybody remembers Jamie Griffiths' podium from that season. That's why people forget about Cupok's podium, which is a little bit sad, really, because Cupok also had a very good race in Malaysia that season, but it was kind of overshadowed by both Gamba and Griffiths' performances, really. But anyway, Cupok now then is just coming out of turn 2 now then, and all 10 cars are now out on the track as he now makes his way through into the left, left and right, as now making his way through that left-hander and then into the right and left. We will soon go as we now make our way up the hill now then towards the left hand on the racetrack. Just bear with me, Christina. Just take us through the lap.
Hey, sure. Well, for the left-hander, goes Cupok at the first sector split, 33.7 for him. He's gone a little wide into the Degner, but that's a pretty standard line in the wet. He's taken a lot of curb there on exit. Could have unsettled the car, but I think he's gotten away with it. In towards the hairpin we go, putting a wheel on the grass there, that was dicey. But for the left-hander, his apex speed looked pretty low, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, Cupok for the right-hander he goes. Continuing to go flat in towards the approach of Spoon Corner, through the left we go. And he's gone a little deep here, quite deep actually. That could affect him as he takes the second apex tightly. To get the best launch possible onto this back straight. Here we go in towards the 130R and the middle sector split. And it's a 120.4 for him. For the flat out 130R corner, taking loads of curb into the Casio Triangle chicane. For the right and then into the left, taking an early apex but going a little deep. That could compromise his run for this lap. But here comes David Cupok finishing the lap. And what sort of benchmarker time will he set for everybody to beat? Here we go with Cupok. It's a 142.005.
Lopez now then across the line. He beats that by I think nearly 2 seconds in the end. So he goes to the top with a 1 minute 0.985. The text there made it a little bit difficult to read there. But anyway, as Armar Carr now then comes across the line in the Mercedes, he crosses the line now then, and he goes into second place, although he's closer to Cupok than he is to Lopez. Miklos Scout across the line he will go, and he goes into what is fourth position behind teammate Cupok. So it does make me wonder if Carr maybe went on the harder compound of the normal wets, given the gap between himself and teammate Lopez. As now we look at Jesus Perrin, and now then in the Renault across the line he will go, and he goes into second place as now Byrne goes to the top of the timing screens at the moment by only 85,000 ahead of his rival Franco Lopez. Roman Quarg now then, it looks like he's way off the pace. I wonder if he's on the harder compound, and he goes into, he gets in front of Gal. He goes into P6. Rote crosses the line, goes into P3. So he gets himself behind both Lopez and Byrne in the end. And only really, I think that says, does that say 3/10 off in the end? Yeah, 3/10 off of Evan Byrne in the end. As we now look at Chris Chatfield now then. In the Ferrari, across the line he will go, and he goes into what is only 8th position. Michael Mocho, across the line he goes in the Haas, and he goes into only 10th position on that occasion. But at the moment, Byrne is at the top of the timing screens by 85 thousandths of a second. So pretty close in the top two between the two title protagonists.
Yeah, quite tight, but there's still plenty that can happen in this session. So who knows who's going to end up taking pole.
Indeed, and of course, let's not forget, I think a few of them were possibly on the harder compound of the normal wet as well. So you would imagine that some of them
definitely Car, most likely.
Yeah, indeed. So you would imagine they'll get onto the softer compound for the second flying lap. So we'll have to wait and see on that one now. Then as Q-Pop makes his way into the pit lane now then, as he will be... if he was on the harder compound of the normal wets, he'll be wanting to switch on to the softer compound for his second flying lap to see if he can get a little bit more higher in the order. He's got 2.1 off of Evan Byrne at this stage of qualifying now. Then we're just under 9 minutes to go here in Q3 as we now wait to see what the next ones happen. I do wonder if Q-Pop will be the first to go out once again like he did early on, but of course we will have to wait and see. But at the moment, Byrne, Lopez, Rote, Perrin, Cart, Q-Pop, Quark, Chatfield, Gal and Mocho are currently your top 10. The whole pack separated by just under 3 seconds at the moment. But of course, some of them, as mentioned, were on the harder compound of the normal wet, so we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the same throughout the remainder of this session. As both Alpha Tauris are now back in the pit lane, of course. Both of them, of course, making it through into Q3. So a good effort for them at Honda's home race. So all 4 Honda-powered cars in Q3 as a result of that. So I think the boss of Honda will be pretty happy about that one. As Gal gets wheeled back into the garage now then.
Yep.
And so that's pretty much that, really, as we wait now then for the next flying laps to happen. Of course, I will eventually, because I haven't been able to put photographs yet of the special Red Bull livery for this. I will eventually do that after the Formula E race, of course, because we will be going straight to the Formula E race after this, of course, because I think Yuri wants to get the streams wrapped up before the UEFA Champions League game between City and Real Madrid. He wants to watch that game. So that's that, really. I don't remember what time that actually kicks off. In fact, it's 7 or 8.
I think it's 8.
I think it's 8, yeah, judging from what time it is now. I think it should be 8 o'clock, because normally the qualifying session for Formula E lasts for 30 minutes. So, yeah, I think it will be 8 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. So, pretty big game, that is. And personally, I hope Real Madrid does, because to be honest, I don't want to see City winning the Champions League.
I dislike Real Madrid, but I dislike City even more.
Yeah, I think everybody has that same opinion. But anyway, yes, Franco Lopez is going out on track, so Q-Pop has actually been beaten to the punch on this occasion as he looks to try and snatch pole off of his rival Evan Byrne at the top of the timing screens, and to try and prevent him from, he wants to try and stop him from gaining even more time onto him in the Drivers' Championship, of course. Coming into this race, Lopez and Byrne are separated by 19 points, of course. Would have been 18 if it wasn't for Lopez setting the fastest lap at Portimao, which gave him the fastest lap point, of course. And so that's that, really, is now coming around the right hand. There we go. Goes Lopez. A few more cars have come out, including teammate Car, who hopefully is on the softer compound of the normal wet, so he could do a better lap time. Q-Pop has gone out on track as well. Only 3 cars so far out there on the racetrack now. Then as Lopez making his way through the second Degner on the racetrack now and then. And now making his way up the hill now then we will go. As now through into the left-hander will go Lopez. It's Nottingham Forest, George. Don't call them Notts Forest. It's a bit of a thing in the Forest community with people mispronouncing their names. So I'm only kidding, George. You don't have to. I'm not that offended, really.
Or do the American pronunciation, Nottingham.
They just say Nottingham, don't they? Which is a bit. Which is kind
yeah,
of
but they say Birmingham for Birmingham.
Yeah. Yeah, they put emphasis on the ham bit, don't they? But anyway, back to the OC before we get to...
Americans.
Yeah, before we get too much into the OC, before we get too distracted, Lopez now then coming towards the Casio chicane now then through the right
This
and
is
left.
probably his last chance.
Yeah, football OC. Yeah, I think. Does anybody remember when Southgate did that football league for a little bit when he
Yeah,
was
it was
playing
cool.
today? But it was cool for a little bit. But I think he wasn't able to do it
Anyway,
again. But
Lopez
anyway,
has started his lap.
yes, he has indeed. He's just started his second fly lap. No traffic for the two-time world champion and the current championship leader as he now makes his way into turn number 2 on the racetrack now. Then as he now makes his way through the left, and right pretty soon. These S's now. Then he goes through the right. He goes now then pretty easy to crash out through there as we've seen a few times throughout the seasons. Through the left and then into the long swooping right. And then we go through the Honda billboards that you can see on the left-hand side, giving you a clue as to who really owns this circuit. Now through into the left we go now then, out of the long swooping left-hander we go as now Lopez approaches the end of the first sector and he finds himself down by quite a margin in the first sector. 4 tenths down on Byrne in the first sector, and so far it looks like Lopez is not on for an improvement. I wonder if he maybe has switched compounds to the harder compound or whether or not he just can't seem to hook it on the second flying lap, as there is a car in front but too far in front for Lopez to to get caught up behind. So yeah, that's that really, as they now make their way through the long right-hander. There goes Franco Lopez in the Mercedes. He makes his way down towards the spoon curve now. Then he goes through spoon 1, he goes, and then into spoon 2 will go the two-time world champion, as he will now make his way towards the end of the second sector now. Then we will go, and now heading his way towards the end of the second sector now. Then he goes. I wouldn't imagine he's he's going to be on an improvement. No, he's not. But
8 tenths off the pace.
8 tenths off in the end for Evan Byrne, as now I'm expecting him, unless he performs some kind of miracle in the last sector, I don't see him improve unless the conditions that we had in Q1 comes back, but I think that's highly unlikely. Here comes Franco Lopez now then, heading on to the pit straight, and across the line will go the two-time world champion, and as a result he is not going to improve and he stays in second place. Armar up on his personal best across the line, and he goes to the fourth. He's got a yellow flag, and it's George Roke who's gone up and he's lost the wheel. That's his session done with as he's crashed out at Spoon Curve. I think that's an aquaplane moment there for George Roke.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see what happened to him.
Approaching Spoon was purple in the first sector was George Roke, and he's thrown it all away by this mistake, and he's dipped a wheel really at the edge there of the track, had some oversteer, and it's crashed out as a result. We've seen crashes there in the wet conditions in the past, and Roke gets caught out in the wet conditions, and that is his qualifying done with.
My goodness me, he was looking very good, but he's thrown away the lap.
Yep, indeed. So no pole position for George Roke. Of course, he has been a little bit of a pole master this season as George Roke, but no pole position
no need to implement the spare car ban, of course, because nobody's going out again.
We say that, but Roke's car might be respawned still, so we have to bear in mind of that. His car is spawned in the garage, but I think Yuri is able to do that without the need of pausing it, if I'm not mistaken. So that's that really, as now Michael Mocho making his way around the left-hander now then, as he makes his way in towards the Casio chicane now then, as he goes through the right. That's very good indeed. That's very good to hear with this new computer. It takes him a lot quicker now to get the spare car ban implemented thanks to this new computer. But Mocho, no improvement. He stays in 10th. Here comes Miklos Gal now then. In at the Alpha Tauris, he now makes his way around the right-hander now then. Gal currently finds himself in P9 now then as the Hungarian driver. It looks like no improvement for him at the moment, but he crosses the line. He stays P9 for the moment. Evan Byrne across the line. He will go now then, and he's not able to improve on his current pole time. Stays on 1:39.9 exactly. Roman Quarg up on his personal best, meanwhile, in the Renault, but nowhere near Byrne. He crosses the line and goes into 7th place. Perinen, no improvement. He stays in 5th position, so 5th and 7th for the two Renaults. Chatfield up on his personal best, meanwhile. He's currently in 8th position. What can he be able to do in the Ferrari now then, as he comes around the final corner and onto the pitch straight? Chris Chatfield across the line, he will go, and he goes into only 8th position really in the end, so not really that much of an improvement, and I think
that's it.
Could be qualifying done with. We'll have to wait and see, of course, because the AlphaTauri are still in the have gone back already into the garage, but in theory this should be it, but we'll just get clarification once we get to the 1:39 threshold, of course, on the timer. But should that be the case, it should be pole position for Evan Byrne, his second consecutive pole position, because of course he took pole.
My prediction took pole.
He took pole position, of course, at the Portuguese Grand Prix last time out. as the seconds continue to tick down. 48, 47, 46, 45, 44, and now we're on 43, 42, 41, and 40, and 39. And yep, that's that then. So Evan Byrne has taken his second consecutive pole position. It's pole position at the Japanese Grand Prix for Evan Byrne, as he has his rival Franco Lopez on the side. So in the end, Roke didn't lose a position in the end thanks to that crash, but it could have been pole position for him had he not crashed out at Spoon Curve.
Yeah, but he can still fight for the win tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yep, indeed. And yeah, Dennis alluding to there that, well, George doing what Will Nella did during the 2010 Japanese Grand Prix, which in the end cost him the victory at this circuit and handed the victory to James Willows. I remember that race very well indeed. Similar conditions as well, that race was. And yeah, cost Will Nella the victory that season. So yeah, that's that really. As 1 minute to go, Q-Pot's just out there getting mileage, but it's not going to matter. As soon as the clock reaches zero, of course, we'll take a look at Evan Byrne's pole lap here at Suzuka to see how on earth he got the pole. As now Q-Pot making his way around the right-hander now then, and up through the left he goes. And so that's that really, as Q-Pot now then making his way towards the two Degner curves, as he's currently he's going to be of course starting in 6th place for tomorrow's race. So a good effort for David Q-Pot in the end, and I think he'll be pretty satisfied with P6 on the grid for tomorrow. Miklos Gal in P9 in the end. Mocho, I think, will be a tad bit disappointed to be down in 10th for Haas, 5th and 7th for the two Renault drivers. I mean, I guess that's good enough as it is, really. The Renault's up there anyway, although I think they would have preferred it if they weren't separated by Q-Pot. I think they would have preferred to have locked out the third row, given, I think, the pace between them, the Red Bulls and the Mercedes, I think is a little bit too strong for them at this stage. As Q-Pot round Spoon Curve, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Checkered flag is out.
0, and the checkered flag is out, as we're now going to have a look at the pole lap from Evan Byrne. So we're going to stay silent and allow you to enjoy it. And that is how Evan Byrne took pole position for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix. A very good lap indeed. It's his second consecutive pole, and even Evans just pointed out in the stream chat, it was here at Suzuka, in fact, where he took his first ever pole back in 2006 in a Red Bull. So it's come really full circle, really, for him in the end. But here is your top 10. Evan Burnett is on pole position with Franco Lopez in second, George Rope third, Armar Carr in fourth, so the usual top four, really. Jesus Perinin in fifth, with David Kupok in sixth. Roman Quagg is in seventh, with Chris Chatfield in eighth, Miko Oskar in ninth, and Michael Mocho completes the top 10. But hopefully, Kurisu, we should be in for a very good race tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. It should be entertaining, and I hope we can get to do it as well tomorrow.
Yep, indeed. Well, that has been it then for the qualifying session here at Suzuka. I hope you have enjoyed it. A very, very fun session indeed. And who knows what the weather has in store for tomorrow. Of course, we're not doing live streams just yet because just after this stream comes to a close, of course, we will have the Formula E race over at Mazzano, or the Formula E meeting, I should say. The first ever Rimini E Prix, so do be aware of that. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you for watching. I've been JW97. She's been Christina. I got there in the end. She's Christina, and we will see you tomorrow. Well, if you're not going to join us for the Formula E stream, we will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. BST for the 53-lap Japanese Grand Prix. Till then, take care, and if you're watching Formula E, we'll see you in just a little bit.
Yep, bye.